I think I'm going to study psychology because I want to know about myself. Psychology means the science of the mind, right?
Oh, young lady. I thought the same when I was your age. But instead of giving me any insights into myself, psychology gave me existential crisis. Hello everyone, I'm Liana. Welcome to Art of Humaning. Well, this is the very first episode, so I thought I'll share the personal story behind this channel. When I was about to go to the university, I wasn't sure what to study. Nobody educated me about university subjects. I was only trained to win exams. I did thought for a moment that maybe I wanted to study philosophy, but considering that my parents would be really concerned about my sanity, I gave up on that thought.
You know how poor our family is? We work so hard to send you to the university. Who in their right mind would entertain nihilistic thoughts? We expect you to become a professional or get a corporate job.
So I chose to study psychology, given that I was severely unhappy at the time. So I thought if I could learn about why I was unhappy, I could also help people upon graduation and being a money making professional. Sounds like a perfect plan. My ancestors would be so proud. Guess what I learned in class? That's right, I learned about the DSM. I learned that if I check enough boxes, I get a diagnosis that says major depression disorder and I take antidepressants. Problem solved. I was like, what? Really? I know I'm depressed. What does it help adding fancy words to the symptom that I'm already complaining about? I need to know why. Like, how I come to this mental state and how to come out of it. Also, I'm not too sure that we should be taking neurotropic drugs when we know so little about the brain. I mean, how do you boil down complex thoughts and emotions to a few neurotransmitters? Moreover, it seems to me that if I feel happy seeing my cat is the cause of my happiness, and dopamine is the effect. And why are we messing with the effect here? In physics class, we observe natural phenomena through special experimental setup, and in biology class, we observe cells through the microscope. But I don't recall any single moment in psychology class where we were taught to observe our mind. Psychology observes behavior and the brain, but never quite the mind. So, how do you claim scientific truth about something you've never observed? I mean, if psychologists are experts of people's mind, are they also expert of their own mind? Is it possible that I become a psychologist diagnosing people's mind without knowing my own mind? Isn't that quite crazy to decide if anyone is crazy that way? Okay, you might say, psychologists do observe people's mind. They collect data about people's mental state through self-report questionnaires. Well, that assumes that people know their own mind and are able to accurately report it to the psychologist. People inform the psychologist about their own mind, not the other way around. Psychologists are superior in having access to a large amount of data that is public to see, but they're not really superior in knowing anyone's mind because that's private. What psychologists can do is to find statistical patterns within the population they've sampled so you get an idea of where you stand. I mean, that's interesting too, but that doesn't really reveal any truth about the mind. So I graduated with hopelessness. I found no methodology to probe into the workings of my own mind. Even the science of the mind doesn't know anything about it. I thought I'm done. I thought I'd be stuck forever. I was already depressed. Psychology gave me existential crisis, which turned out to be a good thing because existential crisis is not a mental illness, it's a philosophical problem. I'm sorry, Dad. I just can't keep my head down and go to work like you'd want me to. I'd rather die than follow social expectations. especially when I found so many things going wrong according to my conscience. Does that make me an immoral person? Finally, at the bottom of my darkness, against all I should be doing, destiny slapped me back to philosophy, which was the therapy I needed. Ta-da! I'm still alive. I didn't kill myself. Which makes sense because historically, philosophy is the therapy of the soul. Philosophy in the first place means the love of wisdom, not love of logic. Of course, I'm very lucky to study in a university where both Eastern and Western philosophies are equally emphasized, but it was not so much the spiritual insights of Buddhism or Taoism that was the most therapeutic for me. It was the history of science that released me from my stuckness. I realized it was not psychology that gave me existential crisis. It was my own infantile expectations of the establishment to tell me everything I needed to know. Having learned about how science came to be in the past several centuries, I realized psychology is just as infantile as I am. It doesn't really know better. Infantility means narrow-minded pursuit of short-term achievement with no regard of long-term navigation. As a result, there is always a sense of cluelessness, manifesting as further grabbing on harder or reliance on others. Older people are seen as wiser because they've seen larger patterns of life unfold. Many of us, being clueless, hold on to others to give us a sense of groundedness. So we depend on our parents, our partner, our company, our government, thinking they know better, they should take care of us. And when they fail, we get hurt and we blame them for being a bad person or a bad entity. The reality is they are just as clueless as you are, no matter what they promise or claim to know. Of course, it's entirely warranted that as a kid we needed to depend on our parents, and any hurt that we experienced as a kid is absolutely real. But true growth consists in growing out of that dependent mentality and the ability to see with historical depth. Our parents also had their own unfulfilled dreams, their own unspoken pain, their own struggles and limitations. They're just older children of their own parents, like any of us. Okay, I'll talk more about parent-child relationship in a further video if you guys like. Let's just go back to psychology for now. See, I'm not criticizing psychology as a research project, which as a young discipline deserve our ongoing participation and contribution. To be sure, there are many meaningful researches going on in evolutionary psychology, moral psychology, social psychology, etc. And these are all descriptive and interpretive sciences that are open to a long-term process of understanding. But I want you to be careful of the prescriptive, professional practice of a social science that gives you labels and drugs, because the act of labeling is where understanding stops and knowing begins. That's why I have absolutely nothing against counseling practice where you and your therapist are in a mutual collaborator of a process of understanding. But, in the end, it depends on what you want. If you just want to manage your symptoms, you just want a quick fix, sure, prescription drugs are a pretty handy option. It's a free market after all. But if you want to be humaning and not just functioning, then you'd want to see someone who helps you understand yourself better instead of someone who knows you for you. And this mindset is extremely important in the face of today's increasing uncertainty. People and establishment will probably be claiming more authority with yet stronger attitude as a reaction, and that's a sign of losing real control because everyone is just as clueless as you are. What we can do as individuals is to shed our infantile expectations of someone else to take care of us better than we do for ourselves, and to voluntarily grow old a little by taking up at least the responsibility of understanding ourselves, so that even though we might remain as clueless, we won't feel as hopeless. When any leaders come along, we'd be able to interact with them as a mutual collaborator and contributor and actively participate in the decision making process. Otherwise, decisions will be made for you. I might sound like I'm talking about politics, but really, I'm talking about spirituality. So, have I found out why I was unhappy? Yes, it's because I'm a Cancer. For sure, astrology is a better narrative because it's older than science. Just kidding. Or am I? Thanks for watching, everyone. On this channel, I'll be exploring the perennial question of how to human from a historical and multicultural perspective, standing at the intersection of philosophy, psychology, religion, and ethics. I'll be also researching on the integration of spirituality and psychotherapy. Don't tell my dad I'm doing this again. So I'll be sharing insights along the way, but I also hope to collect insights from you guys so that we can all participate in this research together. If you like the idea, please hit the subscribe button. You can also check out my website for my philosophical counseling service I'm offering. For more personal updates, I'll be posting on Patreon as one of the perks of membership. Until next time, stay sane, stay humaning.